Howdy, friends. You know, if you've listened to me for any amount of time, you know that God has to have helped me, or I would have never lost 250 pounds. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that and how that played out in one other aspect of my life. You know, I walked into the grade school gym and I saw the evil contraption. It was a thick, heavy rope attached to the ceiling and hanging all the way to the ground. And underneath was a cushioned mat. And I was a smart kid. I knew what that meant, and I did not like it. It meant utter humiliation for me because we were supposed to be able to climb at least partway up that rope. And the first time we had to do it was when I was in third grade, and I couldn't even get a foot up the rope. I couldn't get up the rope at all. After being laughed off the gym floor for failing, I took the option of walking the extra mile in fourth grade. Well, this was fifth grade, and the Presidential Fitness Challenge had come into being and was a requirement for every student. Mr. Benson was the gym teacher. He was a tall, large guy in shorts. And he said everyone had to try to climb at least twice if they didn't get up at least 3 feet the first time. Well, that wasn't very far, but it was a lot farther than I had ever been up that silly rope. And if I couldn't do it one time, what would change by trying it a second time, right? So I was just frustrated with even thinking about it. When my turn came, I hoped that Mr. Benson would just call it quits, but he didn't. He explained how to put my leg around the rope, how to pull myself up with my arms while pushing with my legs. But instead of climbing, I got my legs all tangled up in the rope and I just fell splat on the mat. It seemed everyone in the gym did a collective snicker. I heaved a big sigh and I told Mr. Benson that I wasn't feeling that. He said, okay, but if you leave now, I will have to give you an F in gym class. If you try one more time, I will give you an M for passing. I looked around the room. Some were watching me, but not too many. And I wanted to scream at Mr. Benson and run out of the room. Instead, I thought of the F on my report card. And being an achiever, I decided if they laughed at me once, they could laugh again. It was better than getting an F on the report card. So this time, though, Mr. Benson seemed to have a little more compassion for me and helped by supporting my feet with his foot. So I climbed the required height because he was right there with me. And then I got scared and I let go and I fell on the mat. And he nodded as I asked permission to go to the restroom. I shed a few tears while there. I truly, my friends, hated exercise. Now, maybe if they had a class where we rode bikes, I would like PE class better. But bike riding was the one thing I enjoyed when, doing that outside with my friends. And part of it was the freedom I felt whizzing down the road in front of our house. I joined the kids in the neighborhood riding up and down our street. And where we lived, there were like 4 small houses in a row with a church and its parking lot across the street. And beyond our 4 houses were about 3 to 4 blocks of open fields on either side of the road. The road sloped uphill at that point. So we'd ride to the top of the hill, then we'd come whizzing down the road as fast as we could. And one summer afternoon, I was riding my bike, feeling the freedom which only comes when the wind is in my hair and I'm speeding down the hill. And I decided if I rode without my hands on the handlebars, I'd feel even freer. It was truly divine until I hit the loose gravel from the parking lot at the bottom of the hill. And in a split second, I was thrown off the bike and my head hit the pavement with such force that my mom said that she heard it inside the house. This was before, safety helmets were a thing, of course. She came running outside and determined I needed stitches. And even though Mom had emotional issues during emergencies, she was calm, cool, collected, and knew exactly what to do. She grabbed me, took me to the emergency room. And later, Dad teased me, telling me that I had rocks in my head. The doctor did take out a rock, but it kind of got embedded in my forehead and did a few stitches. So it wasn't as horrible as some of my own children's accidents, but it is definitely one I remember. And up until that time, I had just loved riding bikes. And I was about 14 when this accident happened. And after that, I rarely rode my bike. And if I did, I held on tightly. It just never had the appeal that it had before. I hadn't seen bike riding as exercise. It was just fun until bike disaster. And then bike riding never held the interest that it had once for me. And it moved over into the category of an exercise that I hated. Now, another one was roller skating. I wasn't really very good at it, but I liked it. So when our church youth group decided to go ice skating at a neighborhood rink in a neighboring town, I was all for it. I'd never been ice skating before, but it couldn't be much more difficult than roller skating, right? Plus, our youth director said it was great fun, even better than roller skating. Well, that might be if you knew how, but he seemed to leave that out. We took a bus to the rink. I was one of the youngest ones going. I was probably around 13. I had no clue how to put on and lace up my skates. And one of the sponsors that was there gave me quick instructions and then just headed out onto the ice. I was left to figure it out on my own, lace up my skates, and then attempt to get out to the rink. I watched others for a bit before I tried to stand on those little skinny blades. Thankfully, I was holding on to the side. And as I was trying to pull myself along, one of the older guys asked if I wanted him to help me skate. And I told him I didn't know how to skate. And he said, "It's not hard. Just hold on to me and I'll help you." Now, I knew he was just trying to be nice. He had a girlfriend. She was a friend of mine. So I decided to trust him. I skated with him about halfway around the rink. And as long as I was holding on to him, I was fine. But then he just dropped my hand and skated off. It's kind of his way, I think, of throwing me out into the water and letting me swim on my own. But I was too far from the side of the rink, and people were going way too fast around me. And my one goal was to get over to the side so I could hold on to the rail. But then a speed skater whizzed by me. Yeah. And he just slightly touched me as he went around. I think he was basically trying to let me know he was there. But 1 minute I was standing in the middle of the ice rink, and the next I had landed on the ice with my left foot underneath me. After they figured out that I was indeed hurt and not just laying there on the ice to get a nap and couldn't get up, several of the men came around to help me to the bench and to help me take off my skates. My foot was swelling fast and hurt badly. When I finally got home hours later, because no one left to take me home, I had to wait for everybody to get done. Dad wrapped my ankle with an ace bandage, and we went to the doctor the next day and found that I had a really bad sprained ankle. He sent me home with crutches and told me to stay off my foot for 3 weeks. And every time I took a step, man, it hurt. And I was reminded of how much I hated exercise of any type. And then there's the high school gym class. We had several choices in high school for gym class, and one of those was swimming. Now, I wish that I could have taken swimming every semester, but I couldn't. I had to take a regular exercise class during the opposite semester. So it was hard enough walking around and around that grade school gym endless numbers of times to total up a mile, but it was much worse walking the high school track. All the way around is a mile. If I was only halfway around and it was 5 minutes until the bell rang, then I had to run. And friends, I don't like to run because I don't like to sweat. And and also when I run, I usually stumble and fall and hurt myself. We had about a half an hour to walk the mile. And some even ran 2 miles or more during that time. But I was doing good if I made it walking in a mile. Swimming, though, was different. It was a time I enjoyed going to gym class. It never felt like exercise, although I wasn't a fast swimmer. I liked the side stroke and the backstroke, and I loved just being in the water. It felt peaceful. It was truly an exercise I enjoyed. So, as an adult, anytime anyone mentioned exercise, I equated that with torture. And whenever I tried to lose weight, and people would tell me, you need to exercise as well as curtail the amount of food you eat, I once again felt like I wanted to run and hide. And to be honest, I knew I had missed a lot of things when my kids were growing up because I hadn't joined them and their dad, like on bike rides and hiking trips. Even when we'd go on vacation, they would go exploring and I would sit in the car and read. I knew exercise was good for me. It was good for weight loss. But my experience taught me it was something I needed to avoid. When I started on my lifestyle change journey, it was God who mentioned that nasty word to me again, exercise. One of the first concepts I learned was that instead of going on another diet to lose weight, I needed to learn how to change my habits. I needed to choose one bad habit to stop and a good habit to start. I just didn't realize that my first good habit would be exercise, and it would be the thing that God suggested to me. So I couldn't really say no. For habit change to work, I had to put firm boundaries around a bad habit, and it wasn't something that I would stop temporarily until I got the weight off. It was a habit I wanted to discard completely. So if I stopped a bad habit, that would leave a void. So this meant I would need to start a good habit in its place. So I would use all the energy that I had been putting towards the thing I had just stopped to fuel a new and better habit, which would help me get to where I wanted to go. So I wanted to stop all sugar, but I knew that was not a doable stop for me. I wouldn't get success with that because I tried it before and I could only do it for a short time. So my stop had to be simpler so I would have success. And I chose to stop eating candy. I knew what it was. I couldn't fool myself into saying I couldn't eat it, or I could eat it. Knowing it was childish would kind of make it an easier thing for me to eliminate for the rest of my life. But the start was more challenging. This is when God dropped the bombshell and told me to start exercising. Can't believe that bad word came out of his mouth. I argued with him. I told him I hated exercise. I told him I got hurt exercising, so how could it be good for me? And he asked me a question. He always asks me a question. Makes me think, right? Have you ever gotten hurt exercising in the water. Now, we had a family membership at our community recreation center, which had an indoor pool, a very nice one. And I would go every once in a while to the water aerobics class. But I hadn't been a regular. But I'd never gotten hurt in the water. The more I thought about it, the more I knew exercising in the water was the best way for me to exercise if I was going to exercise. Now, I thought God would want me to take a Zumba or yoga or weightlifting class, something like that, something hard and challenging. But He knows me, and He knows you. He knows what is best for me and what would work for me and what would help me the most on my journey. Now, this was many years ago, and I've been exercising in the water regularly ever since. It was the first good habit I started, and I continue it. I didn't understand at the time that I had a stronghold where exercise was concerned. I thought I was just clumsy, accident prone, and no good at sports. But see, God helped me see that moving or exercising is an integral part of working on my physical body, which is the very home of the Holy Spirit. My body is a place of importance to God. It's where He lives, and He doesn't want it filled with junk food wrappers, my friends. He wants to live in a fit and healthy body, so together we can reach others with the message of His love. He wants the same for you. Although in the beginning, I began going to the pool for exercise, God has shown me that my pool time does a lot more for me than just help me move my body. You know, I work from home a lot, and I'm in front of the computer all the time. My pool time helps me move, but it also gets me out of the house. I have to interact with real people, even if it's just acknowledging that they are there. It also revives and refreshes me in a way I never dreamed possible. I love to go in the mornings before they begin playing music. It's just me and God, jogging in the water. It's a time I look forward to. God knows He has my undivided attention when I'm there. I started at the beginning going 3 days a week for 30 minutes. As I stopped eating additional sugary things, I added more days and more time to my exercise. So I increased my start and I added additional stops. Exercise has become a habit I don't want to miss. Although the last few years I have had to miss some because of surgeries, and even now I'm going through physical therapy for rehabilitation on my leg because of a knee surgery. But soon, I'm getting back to the water, which excites me. But see, I no longer hate exercise. I look forward to it and I dearly love it. God addressed this lie, I believe, and turned it around simply by showing me an exercise which fits my lifestyle and helps me the most. Now, exercise has been an integral piece in my weight loss transformation because it really helps elevate my metabolism and helps me not even want to eat as much. But I had to get over my hatred and fear of exercise. God helped me change simply by sharing the truth with me. I've never been hurt while swimming. Working out in the water was an exercise I could do even when I was super morbidly obese. Now, your exercise may not be the same. It may be something different, but He will help you understand what it is that will work for you. Now, in the past, there have been days I didn't want to go to exercise because I just didn't feel like it. I had too much to do, weather was bad, or any number of reasons. But on those days, I'm reminded of what God said to me about my journey. And this is from Hebrews 12, 1-2. Since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight. Lay aside every weight, my friends, and the sin which so easily ensnares us. And let us run with endurance, even if it's in the water. I can run in the water. This race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author, he started this whole thing, and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. This is really great encouragement for me because I want to lay aside every weight which holds me back. When I have committed to God to do something, I should not allow anything to keep me from it. It would be disobedience to God to do so. And disobedience is simply sin. And then sin ensnares us and makes us falter on the race that God has set before us. This race is a journey with Jesus as our guide. He's the one who started us on this path. He's the author. And he's the one who will be there at the end. He will help us finish. Sometimes life gets hard, even that hard for Jesus. But I love what a lot of verses in the Bible tell us. They tell us that he didn't look at the pain or the shame of what was happening in the moment. He was always looking at the joy he knew was waiting when he saw his Father's face once again. He endured everything he went through, even the horrible pain on the cross, because he knew it was his purpose. When it gets hard, we know he is with us, helping us all the way. We need to remember this prescription to renew our spiritual vitality. And this is from Hebrews 12:13. Be made strong, even in your weakness, by lifting up your tired hands in prayer and worship, and strengthen your weak knees. For as you keep walking forward on God's paths, all your stumbling ways will be divinely healed. And I'm claiming that for me, and I'm claiming that for you, whoever is listening to this podcast today. God really has changed my desires. My exercise time is on my calendar. I work everything around it. The other day, Roy and I were having some car issues. He had an appointment out of town, and we were down to one car. And I told him I would skip exercise. And he said, I know how much you love to exercise. I don't want you to have to skip it. I'll take my motorcycle. Now, he said that even though the forecast had a possibility of rain. And it showed me that God has helped me change completely in this area because even my husband recognizes the change. God helped me in an area that I didn't even know I needed help in, friends. He's so good at that. He knows us so much better than we know ourselves. Isaiah 55:8-9, this is in the Living Bible. This plan of mine is not what you would work out. Neither are my thoughts, God's thoughts, the same as yours. For just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than yours. I'm so glad I have a God who shares his thoughts and his plans with me. His wisdom is what guides us on our journey. Thank you, God, for helping us navigate our journey towards better health. Show us what we need to do now. Make it plain and clear. Help us, God. Help us to understand what the next step is on this journey. And we'll give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' name. Now, friends, if you want some help on the journey, please check out Overcomers Christian Weight Loss Academy. We're accepting new members now. Go to teresachilesparker.com /. That's not the right word. I can't think of it. // Overcomers. Okay? teresachilesparker.com / Overcomers. I love you guys. Sweet grace for your journey.